Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. It's Zihan Lobib Chaudhary from Shah Jalal University of Science and Technology. Today we're talking about two important topics, poverty and inequality. We hear these words all the time, but do we really understand what they mean and how they're different? Let's break it down in simple terms. What is poverty? Poverty is about deprivation. It means not having enough money for basic needs like food, clean water, shelter, healthcare, and education. People living in poverty struggle to survive with very limited resources. Example, in many countries, people live on less than $2 a day. Imagine trying to afford food, rent, and medicine with that amount. It's extremely difficult. What is inequality? Inequality, on the other hand, is about disparities, the gap between the rich and the poor. Even if people are not in extreme poverty, inequality exists when a small group controls most of the wealth while others struggle to improve their lives. Example, think about a country where the top 1% owns 90% of the wealth. Even if others aren't starving, the lack of access to resources and opportunities creates deep inequality. Now, the link between poverty and inequality. Here's where it gets interesting. Poverty and inequality are connected. When wealth and resources are concentrated among a few, it becomes harder for those at the bottom to escape poverty. Example, if education and healthcare are expensive, only the wealthy can afford them, making it difficult for poor families to break the cycle. Now the question is, how can we reduce poverty and inequality? There's no single solution, but some important steps can help. Education for all, because knowledge creates opportunities. Fair wages, so people can afford a decent life. Government support, like healthcare and food programs to help struggling families. So, what do you think? Should we focus more on fighting poverty or reducing inequality? Let me know in the comments. Poverty is about absolute levels of living. How many people cannot afford certain predetermined consumption needs? Inequality is about the disparities in levels of living, consumption needs. Poverty can be said to exist in each society when one or more persons do not attain a level of economic well-being deemed to constitute a reasonable minimum by the standards of that society. Inequality is when most assets are grabbed by a small group of people. In this part, we will discuss about measuring inequality. Lorenz curve and Gini. Coefficient inequality is a major challenge in economies worldwide. But how do we measure it? In this video, we'll explore two important tools, the Lorenz curve and the Gini coefficient. The Lorenz curve. The Lorenz curve is a graphical tool used to measure income inequality. It represents the distribution of income or wealth within a population. The diagonal line in the graph represents perfect equality, where everyone has the same income. The Lorenz curve shows the actual distribution. The further it is from the diagonal, the greater the inequality. A shift closer to the equality line indicates a decrease in inequality. Income inequality is often analyzed using the Lorenz curve. In this section, we'll break it down with an example and explain the concept of the line of perfect equality. Example, understanding the Lorenz curve. Imagine a population where we divide people based on their income levels. On the horizontal axis, we have the population ranked from the poorest to the richest. At point 20, the lowest 20% of the population is accounted for. At point 60, the bottom 60% of the population is included. By the end of the axis, 100% of the population is represented. Now let's look at the vertical axis. This shows the share of total income received by each percentage of the population. Since the data is cumulative, both axes reach 100%, meaning they are of equal length. The line of perfect equality. To understand income distribution, we compare real-world data to a perfect scenario. The line of perfect equality is a diagonal line that runs from the bottom left to the top right of the graph. At every point along this line, the percentage of income received is exactly equal to the percentage of income recipients. In other words, if the distribution were perfectly equal, 20% of the population would receive 20% of the total income, 60% would receive 60%, and so on. The Lorenz curve bends away from this perfect line. illustrating real-world income inequality. The farther the curve is from the line of equality, the greater the income disparity in a society. By understanding these concepts, we gain insight into how wealth is distributed and why inequality exists. The Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is a numerical measure of inequality, ranging from 0 to 1. 0 means perfect equality, everyone earns the same. 1 means perfect inequality, one person holds all the wealth, and others have nothing. How is the Gini coefficient calculated? It is measured by comparing the area between the Lorenz curve and the equality line to the total area under the equality line. The larger this area, the higher the inequality. Understanding the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient quantifies inequality by comparing actual income distribution to a perfectly equal distribution. It is calculated using the Lorenz curve. The horizontal axis represents the cumulative percentage of the population, from the poorest to the richest. The vertical axis represents the cumulative percentage of total income. The line of equality represents a perfectly equal society, where income is distributed evenly. The Lorenz curve shows the real distribution of income. The further it is from the line of equality, the higher the inequality. Gini coefficient formula. The Gini coefficient is calculated using the formula. Gini coefficient equals shaded area A divided by total area BCD minus A is the area between the Lorenz curve and the line of equality. BCD is the total area under the line of equality. The larger the value of A, the greater the inequality. This ratio is also known as the Gini concentration ratio. Higher Gini values indicate greater income inequality, while lower values show a more balanced distribution. By understanding the Gini coefficient, policymakers can assess economic disparities and develop strategies to promote fair income distribution. In summary, the Lorenz curve helps visualize inequality, while the Gini coefficient provides a numerical value to compare different societies. Understanding these tools is crucial for policymakers working toward a fairer economy. So now you know how the Lorenz curve helps us visualize income distribution and how the Gini coefficient gives us a number to measure inequality. The bigger the gap, the more unequal a society is. But what can we do about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about income inequality in your country. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share it with friends, and subscribe for more insightful content. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.